I've experienced societal stigma for mental illness and addiction issues from various people who have judged me as being a freak, including some medical professionals who have judged me on how I funded my addiction. People must realise that the reason behind someone's drinking and behaviour, and also understand that there's always a reason for a person to self-destruct with drugs or alcohol. As they're in an unhappy place, they drink as a coping strategy. I didn't drink or use for fun. I did it because I couldn't cope, so I resorted to certain behaviours. You are classed as being on benefits and scrounging off the government, but that is certainly not the case. So what I would say to someone who hasn't experienced substance misuse or a mental illness is to take a step back and listen to understand why someone is self-destructing, and you'll soon realise that that person is going through mental torture inside their head. Where I've mentioned about medical professionals who have judged me for how I funded my addiction, I've had someone you get doctors in hospitals who kind of like ask you where you get your money from to drink, and you instantly feel judged and you think they have no idea what is going on in your life, and they're judging you as being like, oh, this person's on benefits, they're spending all their benefit money on alcohol and then they're coming to us in crisis. But you've got to understand there's a reason behind that person's drinking. People need to listen and understand what's going on and let someone have the opportunity to open up with how they feel and accept that this is around. And obviously throughout the pandemic, mental health and addiction has come up a lot through to the lockdowns, and people are now more aware of mental health and addiction, because where people with mental illness and addiction have been lonely and isolated in their past, the pandemic has made people feel lonely and isolated, so then they've now resorted to certain behaviours themselves, so they kind of know how people with mental illness and addiction have felt before the pandemic. I have had, obviously you know from my life story that I've submitted to you, that it hasn't been all that bad. I have had positive times in recovery where I've been in counselling and I've had dialectical behaviour therapy, and those have been useful to keep me in recovery.